Walk with me for a few minutes. So, question for you. When you're driving your car down the road, do you spend most of your time, your energy, your focus on the rearview mirror or looking out the windshield on what's ahead of you? I hope you sit out the windshield, otherwise I'm never driving with you. But the reason I ask the question is I think now more than ever, we need to be focused on what's ahead of us, focused forward, focused on our future. And I want to talk with all of you about how we can do that during this time and really equip you with 3 simple questions that you can ask from 2 different perspectives to make sure we all remain future focused. Would love to see who's out there. Who's walking with me this morning? Say hello below. I want to know who's walking with me. Little gray day out here in Southern California. Still beautiful. I love and appreciate all of you guys that are joining me for these conversations. The only way I know you're out there is if you say hello. Give me a wave, say good morning. Would love to say hello back. And as always, I want your participation, your insight, your thoughts, as if you were walking right next to me, shoulder to shoulder, on the conversation of how we remain future focused. So let's talk about what I mean by now more than ever we need to be focused on the future. And the reason I say that is I feel like, you guys tell me if you're hearing the same thing, if you're in the same conversations, if you're feeling the same way. I feel like so much energy right now is around how we get back to what once was, right? There are conversations around, man, when this goes back to normal, when we get back to where we were. And I feel like it's all past tensed, past focused. Wake up call. I don't think we're ever going back to as it once was. It's not going to be the same. Guys, the season that we're in right now is a season that, I don't know, we've never faced in our lifetime. We may or may not ever face again. It is going to change things. So I think continuing to look backward in hopes that we return to how things maybe once were is the wrong focus. Other wake-up call. Why would we ever, in any season of our life, even outside a crisis, want to be hoping that the future is the same as the past? Hoping that the future is the same as the past removes us from the possibility that the future could be better than the past. Guys, just because things will never be as they once were doesn't mean things can't be better than they ever were. But in order for that to happen, we got to stop using the past to try to control the future, and we got to maintain a future focus on where we're going. Now, you guys, it's natural. All of us spend a lot of time in the rear view mirror. I don't know why. I can't explain that. I just know I do. I'm assuming you do. How many of you guys spend a lot of time just in life naturally? Your normal thought pattern is you spend a lot of time looking backward on something that happened, a current situation, a conversation you had, right? We spend a lot of time in kind of this review, internal conversation. How many of you guys can relate that we spend a lot of time in our own head, our own internal conversation, looking backward on a certain circumstance or situation or time period behind us? And the problem for most of us is our internal conversation isn't framed correctly. We're not asking the right questions. We're not taking the right perspective. And a lot of times we look backwards and we end up looking at it through a lens of regret, as in, oh man, I shouldn't have said that. I shouldn't have done that. You know, asking ourselves, well, why didn't I do something different? And spend a lot of time in this kind of energy of regretting something that happened, something we did. And that regret kind of hijacks our emotions. How many of you guys know what I'm talking about? Like, you've ever looked backward on something with a lens of regret? The other big one, a lot of times we take the perspective on is guilt, right? We look backwards and we feel guilty on something that happened, something we were part of, a situation, and sometimes we feel guilty on circumstances that, if we really were to be objective, weren't even in our control. Like, you couldn't have changed it if you wanted to at the time, yet sometimes we let this guilt lens filter our perspective, reviewing what's behind. How many of you guys can relate that sometimes looking backwards, those two lenses of regret and guilt sometimes paint the picture of how we interpret what we went through, and we get stuck? And I won't go too far down this rabbit hole, but we all know what happens if you spend too much time looking through a guilt or regret lens backwards. Well, then you end up beating yourself up, right? Having negative conversation, increasing self-doubt. And, you do that long enough, that slips into a depression. You do that often enough, it slips into consistent or chronic depression. And the bad thing about that trail is, if we really were to step back and maybe look at ourselves from outside ourselves in that moment, it's like, man, the lens of which we're choosing to look backward on what happened and the way it's making us feel is actually worse for us than whatever the situation that happened was. In other words, we magnify it, we make it bigger than it was by how we choose to look backwards on it. And people get stuck in that doom loop, so to speak, in their brain. I'm not a psychologist. I can't explain it clinically. I don't claim to try. I just work with a lot of people, and I watch with a lot of people go through that pattern. So, how do we look backwards with the right perspective in order to shift to being future focused? Let me give you guys 3 simple questions. If you're going to spend energy looking back, let's reframe the questions we ask on how we look back so that way we can better look forward. Question number 1, 3 simple questions. Question number 1, what did I learn? Guys, none of us is perfect. We shouldn't expect ourselves to be. We're all going to make mistakes. The worst thing is not to make a mistake. It's to go through it and not learn from it. Why don't we all take on the mindset of being a perpetual students? And if you look back through the lens of what, right, did I learn from that conversation, that situation, that circumstance, that moment in time, you're going to extract, okay, pen in hand, journal out. What did I learn from this? That's a productive question. Second question you can ask, looking backwards, how did this make me better? I don't care what the circumstance is. Some of you guys are like, Blake, I can think about some circumstances I've went to and through, and it didn't make me better. I challenge you to think and ask yourself that question and challenge your own belief. You guys, every circumstance can make us better. Even the most negative circumstances can make us better. In fact, in my experience, sometimes the most negative of circumstances are what make us better. We don't learn as much when we win as we do when we lose. We don't learn as much in victory as we do in defeat. The biggest lessons are when we fall, because that gives us the chance to learn how to get back up again, right? And become stronger and better in the process. So guys, ask yourself, looking backwards, how did this make me better? Maybe it made you stronger. Maybe it taught you can get through. Maybe it taught you can overcome and you're resilient and nothing can stop you. Maybe you met somebody, right, that adds value to your life. Maybe you got rid of somebody and it was an anchor, right? Or a toxic, individual in your circle. You guys will know the answers if you ask the right question. How did this make me better? And the last question, so what did I learn, student? How did this make me better? Growth. Last question. What else could that mean? What else could that have mean? See, a lot of times we automatically assume a negative intent. But what else could that mean? Challenges you to step into a positive intent. Meaning, if the world were working for you in that situation, so you could learn, so you could become better, then what else could it mean? You know, maybe it means that you were meant to get the lesson. Maybe it means you were meant to build the muscle. Maybe it means you were meant to meet that person, lose that person, take that path, stop that path. Maybe it means you were meant to go through it just so that you can get through it, so you can help other people around you through it. Got to get through it to help other people through it. What else could that mean? That's a faith question. So guys, those 3 questions, real simple, write them down. It's a framework for looking in the rearview mirror. If you're going to look backwards, which we will all naturally, I don't think we can stop that. And I think if you ask the right questions with the right framework, there's value to learning from the past, growing from the past, and building faith from the past. As long as we ask the right questions with the right perspective to extract the value, not get stuck in guilt, right, regret, and negative energy, but to build on going forward. How many of you guys think those questions will help? Simple. Write them down. Remember them. Use them. Build the habit of asking them. Well, Blake, all you've talked about is the past. What about the future? You said future focus. Yeah. I got to shift how you look at backwards so that we can look forward. So 3 questions to design the future. Real easy. Same 3 questions. Future state. So same 3 questions, guys. Shift the lens. Going forward, what will I learn right now? Right now, at this point in time, you guys, this is a gift. It's a forced pause. Right? What will you be learning during this time that we're in? Start something new, learn something new, meet someone new, take on something new, put the student hat back on. We're all in homeschool right now. Doesn't matter your age or if you're in a curriculum. What homeschool are you in? How are you learning? What will you learn? Number 2, how will you become better? How will you become better through all of this? How will you grow? How will you progress? How will you become better through the time that we're in? And lastly, what will all this mean? What will all of this mean? What will it mean to you? What will it mean to your family? What will it mean to the community? What will it mean to the world? And how can you and the actions you take right now and the perspective you focus on, how can that impact you and those around you? I'll give you one more trick for those of you guys that have a hard time looking into the future, being future focused. Maybe you've had a lifetime of habit looking backward. So I'll give you one more trick on how to stay future focused. Just ask your future self to look backward. Hang with me here. If you advance yourself 10 years and you were to ask that version of yourself today, what happened over the last 10 years, the period that we're beginning in the middle of right now, and you were to ask yourself, what did you learn? How did you get better? What did it all mean? How's your future self going to answer the questions for the time period we're in right now? 2 different views to ask the same frame, to give yourself the answer, to move yourself forward, to keep yourself not dwelling on the past, but learning and growing and building faith from it, and then guiding you on how to make and have the right intention, therefore the right actions, and therefore the right outcomes for the time period we're in right now. Let it go, let it go, let it go. Learn from it. Tomorrow won't be as yesterday, but it doesn't mean that it can't be better than yesterday. And it all depends on the perspective you choose to take and the actions, right, that follow that belief. So write down the 3 questions, guys. Let me know one thing you got from this conversation that you feel you can apply and that'll help you. The biggest appreciation you can give to me is just sharing the message with someone that it can impact. And you can do that by tagging someone that comes to your mind or heart in the comment below, sending them or forwarding them the post if you want to send it personally, or just sharing it to all of your friends, because you never know who's in need of this right now. And if you throw it out there, it'll fall on the right person at the right time. So feel free to do that, guys. I would appreciate it. Other than that, let's stop looking backward and dwelling in the past. Ask ourselves the questions, extract, right, how we can learn, how we can grow, and how we can have faith from it, and push yourself into the future, right, with the same 3 questions. And let's all stay future focused during this time, because guys, that's the way we don't only go through this, that's the way we grow through this. And we all have that opportunity. We may never have this time in our life ever again. A forced pause, all the world on the same page. Yes, it's full of obstacles. I don't want to minimize that, but it's also full of opportunity if we choose to take that perspective. Love you guys. Have a great day. Thanks for walking with me. And until next time.